I've mentioned this to y'all before, but basically we're just a lunch meeting with Mr. Morano, the superintendent, Connie Loveland from Main Street. Also the new director of the chamber, and I cannot remember her name. Ron, do you? Put you on the spot. Those were the four.
Another notebook.
Yeah, those were the four in attendance today, but we held it here. Next month we'll meet at the central office at the school, and Daniel Zamora, Ms. Hayos from the city, Vicki Gutierrez from the hospital. Those are the people in that group, and I really want to keep that going, because the more we communicate and work with those other area people, I think the better our community will be. We did not have a finance committee this month, mainly just because I was gone last week, but we're going to work to make sure we have that every month. And so we'll meet that on May 20th for next meeting. I don't know. I got a lot of stuff in my report. It was a long period of time, and I'm sure I forgot some stuff. But any questions or anything, I'll try to answer.
Any questions for Dr. Moss on his report?
The LFC meeting said that'll be in the afternoon here on the 14th, and then Thursday. Is that Thursday morning?
It's Thursday morning, and it'll probably last all day Thursday. And they'll actually start their May meeting in Mosquero on the 13th. And then I think they may go back to Mosquero the morning of the 14th. I actually visited with Director Salih last week, and I kind of jokingly said, I want to know where you guys are staying in Mosquero. And he said, we'll be staying in Tucumcari, but we'll be driving up to Mosquero. Wow.
There is a place to stay there.
Huh?
There is a place to
Is
stay
there?
there, yeah. The old rectory. And Tutta Libby Cruise has remodeled that, and they have people that stay there. It's really nice. So if they want to stay there and not drive back and forth, well, then that would be get a hold of Tutta.
I would think Jack Chatfield would know that, but
He should have, yeah.
yeah. Well, but you got to think there's probably
There's no place to eat. That's another thing. Unless Jack opens that up.
Well, there'll be, I think on the Legislative Finance Committee, there's probably somewhere between 16 to 25 members on that committee. You've got LFC staff members like the director and some of the analysts. You've got some other supporting staff. There could be probably somewhere between 30 to 50. Maybe.
They better stay in Tucumcari.
Yeah, so that's a pretty big number. And it depends on what the agenda is too, because there might be a higher ed item on there, or there may not be. But they may be if they have an agenda item on, like, say, water rights or something, then you may have people from all over the state coming for that hearing. So then you've got another, 10 to 30 people coming for those. I've went to LFC meetings, across the state because they had a higher ed agenda item. So, we could easily see 100 or more people in town for that.
Yeah. Tucumcari is a place to go.
We want it to be.
I wanted to mention that the heating and cooling works really well at the armory.
Oh, I'm glad that's still going well.
It gets so hot sometimes when it's hot outside.
Yeah.
It's been really comfortable.
Good.
Any other questions for Dr. Moss? If not, we'll go to the March financial report?
So again, I'll try to answer any questions. You know, again, I don't wanna say that it's just kind of become, routine, but at the same time, it's kind of a good thing that, I don't think we have any issues with finances. Our cash balance, I sent you all an updated EFOP report for last week. We're showing we're running around 1.5 to 1.8 million in our cash balance. Some of that insurance money's been paid out. We still have some workforce money that will have to be spent, but you know, we're still running quite a bit higher than we were last year. We'll be getting another appropriation allotment of like 500,000 Thursday, and so you know, we only have 2 more months to go, and we're running pretty well. And I'm looking forward to next year when we're getting that supplemental funding for our nursing program, and that's just money that we'll be able now to use for other things to grow, whether it's expanding our CNA offerings like into the high schools and areas, looking to you know, start possibly plumbing or building trades or whatever it is. I think we still have a lot of upward growth and momentum to go. So we do have, well, that's on budget, but our liability, property liability and insurance is going up next year about 20-some%. But, you know, that's pretty minimal compared to what I think we're gonna see next year as far as revenues and what we're gonna be able to spend. And we also have several things. We're not messing with that this week because business office is covered up with the audit, but next week we're gonna have to make a priority. There's some drawdowns, some billing that we gotta get done. We've got several items that we need to get reimbursed through HB2 or State Board of Finance. You know, I don't think we've been reimbursed for the special audit payments we've already made. Not sure that we've been reimbursed for the 23 audit, and right there you've got 200 and some thousand. We've got HERF money that we'll need to draw down. We've got billing to the corrections departments. So a lot of that we're gonna have to kind of focus on next week to get done, make sure we get it done before the end of the year. But that's additional funds on top of what we have right now.
Dr. Moss, I've got some questions here on our investment report on these CDs. Of course, it looks like there's one that just renewed the first of the month and there's not an interest rate on it.
Is that Citizens?
Yes.
Okay, I saw that, and then also that everyone's is only like 2%.
2%, and then the Mexico Bank and Trust is like 1%. And now it looks to be a long-term one.
Okay, now that one, the 60,000 or so, that is the CD we had to put in place for Department of Ed, and we don't want to have to mess with that because it was a pretty big ordeal to get that set. But yeah, the other two definitely.
Well, I was just wondering where it's such a long term and you know matures in 29. It would sure make a lot of sense to pull that out and put it. Well, I mean 1% versus over 4%, but there may be other things that I don't know.
I think the way it had to be set up for that one, we didn't have a whole lot of choice in what. And because it's not like, okay, we're going to put that money into a CD that we can pull out at any time. We can't really touch that because we had to send in like I won't get the terms right, but the letter of the guarantor and the borrower or whatever it was with Department of Ed. But I know when I visit with is it Cord at everyone's federal credit union, my understanding was that they were gonna offer that same government treasury rate that was like 4%. So I need to follow up with him, and I don't know for sure if Rochelle just hasn't changed that rate on that form, or if we're not getting that, but
Yeah.
I need to follow up on that.
Well, and I know there's a website that, the Secretary of Treasury, that you can
Yeah.
get those percentages on a daily basis from.
Yeah.
And that's what I, look back to there.
But when we changed that, we moved some of it to Citizens, or not, Citizens Bank.
Right.
But that was the understanding that I thought court agreed was, we could do one of those at that rate. And so, again, I'm not sure.
I
if-
know there was work done on it and all, and that's why I'm questioning.
Yeah, no.
Where we're at.
You're right, cause I saw the same thing, and
And it'll be
it
coming
is
up here
also
in
possible
July.
that Rochelle just hasn't changed that rate right there, even though it's changed at the bank, but I need to find out
Yeah.
for sure which one it is.
Well, and then she may just want to make a note to watch it, cause it is renewing
Yeah.
in July.
Also, kind of along that line, while we're talking about banks, I can't remember if we've talked about this or not, but we are, it's not as high a priority, but we need to get it done, is looking at getting a credit card or a couple credit cards through New Mexico Bank and Trust so that we don't continue using that debit card for purchases. We're still working toward that. We met with New Mexico Bank and Trust, a month or two ago. It's just not been a high priority with everything else going on, but, we're working to get that done too.
And that, I know the Citizens, I had to go sign. Citizens they are going to give us the government rate, and, we just renewed that, so
Okay.
for sure, I know that was done.
But I'll also check on that,
But-
that 60,000 one, but I'm pretty sure there was some other things to
Well,
that.
and if there's different things, that's great, at least we know that,
Yeah.
where we can justify why we are, willing to accept less than
Right. Yeah, we don't wanna
a
just give
fourth
away.
of what we're getting on the others.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Well, and, I've been following the cash, our cash is really looking good.
Good.
And, it's staying over, it all looks pretty good. If there's not any other questions, we'll, entertain a motion to approve the March 2025 financial report.
Make motion to approve the March financial report.
Second.
Got a motion and a second, roll call please.
Mr. Sandoval,
Yes.
Mr. Box,
Yes.
Mr. Fairbanks,
Yes.
Ms. Stevenson,
Yes.
and Mr. Sidwell,
Yes.
and the motion carried.
All right, next on the agenda is, the 2025 bars. I should have that for, restricted and unrestricted funds. And this is to adjust the current budget to meet the revised budget, or the approved budget, now we revise it to actual budgets. There on the bottom, there's, it actually, it talks about, under explanation, like decreased estimated tuition and fees and local tax levies based on actuals. Those are, you can read that. But there's an explanation as to So when you approve a budget, you've got, it's the best guess, and so you have to do the bars so that you can get it to actuals currently, and that will do this.
And it also add on the bars, and I don't have the numbers right in front of me, I should, but, I think it might show us coming out a little bit in the red this year, but again, that's kind of overestimating our expenses for the end of the year. I think we'll still come out in the black, but also, we're fighting again, or not fighting, but dealing with, we received that 500 and some thousand, for the, hail roof damage at the end of fiscal year 24, so it showed up as revenue in 24, but now we've expended it this year, and so that makes it look worse than it actually is. So there's some other things to take into account, but when Mrs. Sharmer and I met this morning, kind of going over the budget and the bars, I think we're starting to see a pattern now that she's done her budget the last couple of years, that we're still chipping back away back at that fund deficit, and you can see reflections of that like in our cash balance, because it continues to be stronger this year than last year. So that's going to look good for obviously HED, but also HLC, because we're going to be able to show, hey, we're finishing each year to the positive, we're decreasing that fund balance deficit. And then when we do projections for, even 27 and 28, we've got a pattern there to show why we think that's going to grow and improve, plus what we're going to start putting into new programs is going to increase our numbers. So that's exciting.
Well, we know, say the amount that we paid for the special audit, and we haven't gotten reimbursed for that.
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
And so big numbers like that would show, we're actually showing a decrease. But if we get reimbursed for what we've already spent, then it,
Shows the revenue way up.
the revenue. That might be something that would help us if we had what we've asked for reimbursement and what we've received.
Yeah.
So to look at that.
And I mentioned this to Mr. Primrose this morning. Been wanting to see that for several months. Got to give my business office time to kind of get their feet under them. But I think we're going to get to the end of this year, and we're going to, some of that HB2 money is just going to revert back. We don't necessarily need, nor would we probably get much favor to extend that another year. We'll just be glad we were able to extend it into this year. But some of that will go back, not out of our account. HED's holding that money. State Board of Finance, we're not going to spend all of that on gens of our training. So we may still, on top of the $180,000 we returned for State Board of Finance already, I could see us maybe another 100,000 or so going back on that. And just a huge estimate in my mind, not based on any good numbers, I would say of the 2 million HB2, somewhere between, this is a huge gap, $300,000 to $800,000 might go back to that. And it could be more. I don't think it'll be less than that, but just because a lot of things, we've tried to press to get whatever we could reimbursed from HB2, so that it just puts us in a better footing moving forward on our own. But a lot of times when I ask, I know what the answer will be, but I hope for something else. They'll say, No, that's something you should be carrying under your budget and your revenues, cause it's a reoccurring, and that's not what HB2 is for, so.
Right, is there any other questions or comments on this, 2024-2025 budget adjustment numbers? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve those.
So moved.
I'll second.
Having a motion and a second, roll call please.
Mr. Fox,
Yes.
Mr. Primrose,
Yes.
Ms. Stevenson,
Yes.
Mr. Sidwell,
Yes.
and Mr. Sandoval,
Yes.
and the motion carried.
All right. Next on the agenda is the 2025-2026 budget approval.
And I'd just say again on this, budget is kind of estimates. I mean, in a sense, you're putting estimates on estimates right now until we get the 24 audit done. But Ms. Sharma did a good job of getting her budget together last year that was acceptable to HED, and I think this one will be too. Doesn't mean we can't make changes through the year, make adjustments, but this is a pretty good one to just get submitted to HED and get started.
That's pretty much based on our actuals for this year.
Yeah. Yeah.
Moving the actuals this year to start the budget for next year. And then at the end of the year, we'll have bars again to make these estimates actual numbers.
And some of the numbers, I know I don't think we've still got numbers for BR&R and ER&R yet from HED, but we still gotta submit our budget, so there'll be some changes, definitely.
Right, is there, let's see. Any other, questions or?
I move we
Discussion?
approve the 25-26 budget.
I'll second.
Got a motion and a second to approve the 2025-2026 budget. Roll call, please.
Mr. Primrose,
Yes.
Ms. Stevenson,
Yes.
Mr. Sidwell,
Yes.
Mr. Sandoval,
Yes.
and Mr. Fox,
Yes.
and the motion carried.
Next is the foundation leases. We have a list of what we lease from the foundation. The last couple of years, they've reduced that. And this is for the leases for this current year, for the 2024-2025. Alco property in Route 66, Equine Center, radio tower, and then the two trailers. And do you remember? Is this what we were paying before? Well, like I said, they reduced it the previous 2 years. 2 years ago, or 3 years ago, actually, it was zero, right? And then we paid a little bit. Do you know if this is similar to what we were paying?
This is the little bit. If you go back, if this is what you're asking, if you go back like 4 years, those leases added up to 40 or 50,000.
Yes,
So it's still that smaller amount
Okay.
over the last couple years.
Good.
So I have a question. leases here. So on the lease, item 3, rent. So it says, lessor for and in consideration of this lease agrees to pay as rent. Lessor's not paying rent. Lessee is the one paying the rent.
Well, then it goes on the next sentence to say lessee shall pay the lessor 25.
Right. Yeah,
So, yeah, it
just
just
that
needs-
first sentence
yeah,
is
is
not
that the way
correct.
it is on all of them?
It is.
Okay.
Maybe I don't remember if the first one was like that or not. But,
Yeah.
Do we still have that property up in Evans Street?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, up on top of the hill.
Yeah.
That's foundations. Yeah, we don't, I don't think we pay any lease on that. They just own it. I think what they tried to do is really cut down only to what the college actually had use for at this time, and then tried to lower the amounts down to where it was pretty minimal.
But these leases are, they all say that with the exception of the Wells Cargo and the trailer.
Yeah.
So that,
Make that change.
make that change.
I think
And
they would
that's-
go along with that instead of them paying us for.
Yeah.
So just take off the first, sentence, the whole sentence,
What's that again?
take off the whole sentence?
No, just change that lessor
Just
to
to
lessee.
lessee. Okay,
Because the foundation is the lessor. And they're not gonna pay rent.
mhm.
We can leave it the same and they give us 100 and we give them 100.
Or 50, 25%.
No,
They give us 200, we give them 100.
Well, that,
I bet,
that's
Yeah,
kind of
I bet
like
Phil's
they do
watching
with
this.
the corrections though, isn't it?
And Mr. Primrose may have mentioned this, my mind was on something else, but we've had conversations with the foundation about kind of changing this setup next year to remove some of this back and forth stuff. The college taking over the lobbyist or government liaison is what a lot of colleges call them. The college not billing for the administrative assistant or clerical work. Just keeping that in our own expenses and then them just doing the leases at a minimum amount, like $1 or something, just so that we still carry the insurance on them, but not this back and forth where they bill us for this stuff and then we bill them for this stuff. That hasn't been approved by the foundation, but we are having that discussion to try to hopefully make things simpler. It wouldn't change, anybody's decision-making or authority or anything like that, just remove some transactions. And I think it would appeal to the state auditor's office more as well. But that's for next year.
yeah, we're with that next year. Is there any other questions or changes?
Good catch.
Yeah. Now I'll entertain a motion to approve these leases with the change on item 3.
I make a motion that we approve these leases, subject to the change of of item 3.
Second.
A motion and a second, roll call please.
Ms. Stevenson?
Yes.
Mr. Sidwell?
Yes.
Mr. Sandoval?
Yes.
Mr. Box?
Yes.
And Mr. Primrose?
Yes.
And the motion carried with the changes.
All right. Next is approval of purchase requisition 118140 GI Computers.
So this is, actually, I think this is using some HERF money that that we have to spend before June 30th. Mainly on like laptops and stuff to kind of update some of our systems. A few of us have had trouble with ours lately. Some of them aren't maybe powerful enough to run everything we're running on them. So this will update some, increase the number that we have available on campus, but it went over the $20,000 mark. And so Larry got 3 quotes, I think you got.
Yeah.
And this is the one that's recommended. And this is HERF and would be reimbursed unless the federal government decides to pull that back, but they haven't yet, so we want to get it spent
Better
before they
spend
do.
it as soon as possible.
Do you get anything for the old computers?
Generally, you have to pay somebody to haul it off.
Oh, you do?
The old computers when they're out of date, and like we've got a purchase order going through right now where he's updating the lab over at the Wind Building. Those computers were put in 2014. I mean, you couldn't. Nobody's gonna.
Other way on.
Yeah, they're
Well, we had a whole room full of them at the county because you have to give everybody an opportunity to purchase them.
Yeah.
And then by the time you zap them all and put them up, and they just stacked up.
Yeah. When you auction them off.
Yeah. That's the only way to get rid
Yeah,
of them.
that's
is
it,
auction
too.
them all off. Any other questions on this requisition? Not, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
And I'll second.
Motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Mr. Sidwell,
Yes.
Mr. Sandoval,
Yes.
Mr. Fox,
Yes.
Mr. Primrose,
Yes.
and Ms. Stevenson,
Yes.
and the motion carried.
All right, next is change of the 25-26 academic calendar.
So I think it was actually Dean that pointed this out to Joel, that we only had like 15 weeks in our spring 2026, so we needed to add a week. Looking at it, we didn't want to take away any of the breaks during the semester. To add it at the beginning we tried that this semester and it was a little too rushed because we had all the staff and faculty back on the same day and it was just a week before classes started. So mainly the differences is just adding a week on the end of the semester in the spring of 2026, just to ensure that we have the full 16 weeks. And hopefully that's the last change we make to the 25-26 calendar.
So it would go till May 19th.
Right.
Wow.
But it's a week later. That gives a week for the staff to come back, get settled, get registration things lined out that we always have to do before the start of the semester. Then the next week, the faculty comes back. We have our back to school meetings, and then start school the following week.
18th to May. Anybody have any questions on the schedule? Not, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion, we approve the schedule change.
I second.
Motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Mr. Sandoval,
Yes.
Mr. Fox,
Yes.
Mr. Primrose,
Yes.
Ms. Stevenson,
Yes.
and Mr. Sidwell,
Yes.
and the motion carried.
All right. Dr. Moss has already talked about the good neighbor out-of-state tuition for students that border New Mexico and other universities and colleges are doing that. Any other questions of Dr. Moss on that?
Didn't Texas have that same policy for New Mexico?
Yes,
Kids?
I think WT is one of them. You can get in-state tuition at WT.
So I noticed Utah's on there also. How does that work? I mean, that's just a corner.
Just a corner tip.
I'm not sure that we'd actually use, it really is, we're really thinking about Texas, Oklahoma, maybe Colorado, but mostly West Texas. I mean, you know, you got your WIN students, you know, I don't know if nursing, I don't know that that would be able to cross state lines because you've got different boards of nursing and stuff like that. But, you know, wind, arts, you know, we want to make sure that those students that are only 40, 50 miles away maybe have that opportunity to, or maybe a different way to advertise or reach some of those. So,
Well, it would apply also to Arizona, I guess, if there were some kids off the Navajo or something like
Yeah.
that wanted to come to the Hearts, maybe.
yeah.
Any other questions? Not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the Good Neighbor out-of-state tuition rates.
Make a motion to approve the Good Neighbor out of state rate.
Second.
Got a motion and a second, roll call please.
Mr. Box?
Yes.
Mr. Primrose?
Yes.
Ms. Stevenson?
Yes.
Mr. Sidwell?
Yes.
And Mr. Sandoval?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Right. Next, Mr. Kaiser and Mr. McVeigh, are not here. Are there any questions of Dr. Moss on their report?
I've got a couple, I think probably be pretty easy. What time is the graduation and what time is the pinning? We got the dates here, but we don't have a time for that.
Those are good questions.
I was just wondering when
That's
it
on
was.
on the
It's on
back,
6 p.m.
on the,
Yeah, it's 6.
yeah,
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
the graduation anyway, not the pinning.
I believe the pinning's at 3 on Saturday.
Yeah, 3 o'clock. Graduation practice is at 10 on the 9th, and graduation starts at 6.
okay.
On that note,
I probably saw that later and then I didn't go back and
yeah,
take my mark off that.
I won't be here for, graduation.
Okay. Okay.
I have a son that's getting pinned and graduating from Easter.
Okay. We won't hold that against you. And then graduation will be at the auditorium. Pinning ceremony will be in Building A, where it was last year, only we're gonna open up the divider and give it a little more room.
Okay, any other questions on Mr. Kaiser or Mr. McVeigh's report? Seems like there was. Right. If not, and Mr. Martinez, anybody have any questions on Mr. Martinez's report? If not, we'll move right along to Mr. Garcia.
Hello, everyone. So I'll just give a few updates here. First, we had a staff senate meeting earlier in the month, and staff had brought up a few things that are in the minutes there. And Dr. Moss already sent out an email addressing most of those issues issues that had been brought up during the meeting, but one of the things I wanted to just mention was we talked about getting a student senate back in place for next year. So like when the fall, when the students come back, having them do like a vote for student senate president and getting, you know, an official senate in place. And then having the student senate president get involved with our monthly senate meetings, like with me and Ms. Griffiths, when we meet with Dr. Moss and Joel and Josh and Mark. So that's something we're gonna be looking at getting set up in the fall, is when the students get all back and registered and start getting a student senate voted on and a student senate president, so they can bring their concerns of the students into our meetings. So I feel that'll be good to, you know, get the voice of the students in there also. Just some updates with our adult education program. In the report here, it says we had 17 HSC graduates. We actually had 2 more complete yesterday, so now we're at 19 high school equivalency graduates for this year. So we're one off of our goal of 20 that we set at the beginning, and we actually have 2 more students testing tomorrow and Thursday, so we can still hit that goal. But I know for sure out of the 19, we have 11 of them that have committed to walk next Friday in graduation, so we're happy about that. I completed our grant renewal application for our adult ed program, sent that into HEB, and that's for just to continue our funding that we've been getting for adult ed, and that's for another 4 years. That'll take us all the way through fiscal year 29. And then they're supposed to let us know by mid-May if we're approved for that, and I don't see any reason why we wouldn't be. So just got that sent in and completed. Our CNA cohort started. This is their 4th week they're going on now. So they're almost halfway through. And we've been working with those students as well. They're part of our IET program through adult ed. So we've been working with them on just study sessions, test prep, vocabulary, terminology, doing a lot of the work like that. And Kylie Vaughn and Nikki Vasquez have been helping a lot with that as far as getting the students up to date on all that stuff for their IET CNA work. Our honors college is going to be having their presentation, poster presentation next Tuesday. From 5 to 6, and that'll be in the old commons area of building A. So we'd like to invite you guys for that. We'll have some light refreshments that night, and then we'll have the honors project set up out there.
What
And
was
then-
that time again?
From 5 to 6 next Tuesday. And then another event we'll be doing next week is on next Thursday night. Our ESL class will be having their end of the year potluck. And that's at 6 o'clock. So we'd like to invite you guys to come to that. There'll be a lot of good food. And that's in room A123, which is just located right outside the ESC, like where the teacher's pod is there. So if anybody would like to join us for that, that'll be next Thursday at 6 o'clock. So we'll be doing that. And other than that, we're just getting ready for graduation. It's a really busy time of year for us, getting everybody done with their tests and then ready for graduation, all the practice and the event there. So a lot of events coming up next week, so we'll be busy pretty much every day, every night. I think the athletic banquet is Monday night, is that right?
That'll be Monday night.
So that's going on Monday, the honors Tuesday, the ESL deal Thursday.
Graduation
Graduation
Friday,
Friday,
pinning Saturday. It'll be a busy week.
We pretty much have something every day next week, but now we're looking forward to it. It's a time to celebrate our students and congratulate them on everything they've accomplished. So that's pretty much all I have for tonight. If anybody has any questions for me.
And you were nominated for the Mountain Plains Audit Adult Education Association Board, right?
Oh, yes, that was, our adult ed program belongs to, we have our state New Mexico Adult Ed Association, and I'm on that board, and then I got nominated to sit on our regional adult ed board, is the Mountain Plains Adult Ed Association. And that consists of 9 states, New Mexico, Arizona, Idaho, Wyoming, Each state has 2 board members, and I'm one of the 2 now.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank
That's
you
great.
for representing the college for
Yeah,
us.
no problem. I'm looking forward to representing Mesalands and New Mexico on that board. And we deal a lot, it says on there, they do a lot with adult ed policy, advocacy, and then a lot of professional development, so. I had my first meeting last week as part of that board, and then we meet monthly. And then we do a conference every year, so.
That's great.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
I'm happy to be sitting on the board and, representing New Mexico and Mesalands on there, so. Get our name out more.
Absolutely.
And I'll add too, I don't know if this is in Dean or Joel's report, but Joel told me Saturday that, our adult ed program currently holds the 3rd highest measurable gains in the state.
Yeah, out of the 26 programs, we're number 3 right now.
Yeah.
Wow.
As
So
far
that's awesome.
As far as our
That's good.
students making gains, that goes for ESL students, that come in and they pre-test and post-test, so it shows how they improve throughout their time with us. And then for our high school equivalency students, there's pre-testing, post-testing, and then the high set test. So we're making gains. I think it was 62.5% of our students make gains
That's great.
that come in with us, and right now we're sitting 3rd in the state. That was something Joel and I looked at last week when we were at a training in Santa Fe, so. We're happy about that.
Appreciate all your work.
Yeah,
It's great.
a lot of credit goes to our students. They're really easy to work with. And it's a benefit of being a small program is we can give them a lot of one-on-one, and they can't do in a lot of larger places, so. But other than that, we're just getting ready for graduation. We're looking forward to a good celebration next week.
Anybody else have any questions for Mr. Garcia? Thank you very
All
much.
right, thank you,
Appreciate it.
guys.
Thank
Yep.
Ms. Griffiths, no report. Trustees' comments, or is there any trustee have any comments?
I have one.
Jimmy?
What about the sign there on 10th Street and the sign here in the building? What's the difference? What they're gonna do about it?
We discussed that, about one says community college and one just says
College.
Yeah.
college.
And that was one of the questions I think that come up in the staff meeting is, are we Mesalands Community College or are we Mesalands College? We're Mesalands Community College. That was a previous administrative kind of move, I think, to change us. But the question is, when do we want to spend, because those signs are expensive to replace.
They are.
And so at some point, yeah, we want to get everything in the blue and gold school colors. Everything says Mesalands Community College. But that's kind of it right there.
Yeah, cause, we were working on changing the name of the college to Mesalands.
Yeah.
And then James Streetman started firing everybody, so we lost that deal.
Yeah, well, I think for the perception of HED, the legislature, and maybe the community too, we don't need to lose the community part of our name, because that's what we should be doing, is serving the community.
Yeah, but the community don't care for education for kids.
Yeah. Well, some of them do.
Yeah.
That's
I
where
think
our
the
enrollment comes from.
majority do.
But, when I was sitting there, they didn't want no part of
Yeah.
education for the kids.
Yeah.
The commissioners, anyway, the city managers never said nothing. Which they should have said something.
Yeah.
But they never said nothing. Just let them do whatever the hell they want to. That's why we started to change the name to Mesaland College instead of having community, because the community is not for education.
Yeah.
And I know, because I've been there for several years fighting for education. They never did care for education because I tried it for the outdoor classroom, and I tried it for the summer reading program. They didn't want no part of it. Just let them do whatever they want to. And I wanted to help them with a little donation from the city, which they don't get nothing because they don't do nothing. The Main Street people never done nothing on Main Street. But you've seen Main Street now, it's the same, it's been like that for years, that I know of. We try to get that, and then the train depot, I worked on that a little bit, but they didn't wanna improve on it or nothing. So who do you believe? The community or the people in the
We
city?
have new community leaders, so
Yeah.
we'll go forward with, and, I think community college is great.
And we have to respond. I think as a college, it doesn't do us any good to offer programs that aren't of value to our community. And that's why I think, we need to, as we move forward, not just nursing and healthcare, but, we need to look towards establishing like a building trades, plumbing, electrical, because that's stuff we just don't have around here.
No, we don't have nothing on here.
But that's kind of responding to what our community needs, and I think that's the role of a community college.
Because me and Mr. Gooseback were gonna work on the city to make them do something.
Yeah.
But we got rid of him, we lost I lost everything.
Get some funding, we'll have a sign change.
It
Yeah.
seemed to
Well,
me,
I think that's where Dr. Moss is making some great inroads in meeting with these other community leaders and these monthly meetings and so forth, and we'll see some results in the future from that.
And I won't
Kind of talking together on it and working things.
say anything about other boards or commissions or anything like that, but I feel like the people that are leading these organizations, the manager, city manager, county manager, hospital manager, superintendent, I think we have a pretty good group of people that want to move forward. And we're gonna move forward whether they do or not.
The college might move forward, but the
Well,
city ain't gonna move
We can't
forward.
control the others, but I think right now they're at least willing to sit down and talk about plans.
It's
That's
a
what they should be
different
doing.
group, the people that were back in the day are gone. It's a whole new crew of people that are wanting to move forward.
Yeah, I talked to the city manager here a while back, and she said, I'm going for education, but she hasn't said nothing about education. We'll tell the commissioners.
Yeah.
The commissioners are the one that makes the choice, and they don't make no choices. But to get rid of a person, they're passed on that, but they don't ever ask questions, why is a person doing what he's doing? All they know that he got the wrong last name and the wrong color. That's it. You got her. And that's one thing I have tried to now, at least now, Mr. Martinez is working on the buildings and stuff, something that we need to be done pretty bad. But if you're talking to all these leaders, tell them, what's wrong with you guys? Don't you use a noggin? What the hell is it for?
Yeah.
That's what I tell them first thing. I said, what's wrong with you people? You guys are leaders. Well, the committee voted you people as leaders. What are they doing? Nothing.
Well, I will say I am thankful for you all because I believe every one of you want to see this college grow.
Yes.
And that's what it's gonna take is you all, our staff and faculty and offering programs that our area needs. And I think we have a lot of potential still to grow and serve. So I do
Absolutely.
appreciate you all's attitude toward that.
And there's gonna be growth pains along the way.
There will be.
Growing pains, yeah.
Speed bumps to hit,
There will be.
overcome.
Speed bumps, we got them already.
Dean and Joel are moving so fast on this IET stuff that it's hard for everybody else to keep up. But business office and enrollment and everything else. But there's just a lot of potential there.
Yeah, there's a lot of potential in Tucumcari, but you don't have the leaders to do it with.
We're working on that. I really feel confident of that.
and you're working with the experimental station out here, so.
Yeah, we haven't had any conversations lately. and I think they did finally hire a new dean of programs or whatever, and I need to make contact with them and move forward.
Well,
So-
and Leonard's retiring the 1st of July.
Yeah,
And they have put out, a search, put together a search
Okay.
committee. So,
And then they're supposed to, this, I can't remember his name now, the new dean of the co-op, but supposed to poll us about what we think the experimental station should be doing, or what, new things we can get into.
Yeah.
And if that's something that we tie into here, that,
Yeah.
so, if you had any ideas or anything,
Cause he was one of the ones that didn't wanna move.
yeah, I'll definitely come up with some and get with Joel and, see what his ideas were on whether it's sharing some teaching or some touring or whatever.
yeah, we have a meeting in the morning.
Oh,
anything that the college can share with Tom and I, we
Yeah.
can carry over, because we
Okay.
both serve on that advisory committee also.
okay,
So, we just need to know what the college wants to do, so
Yeah.
we're not speaking out of turn
Right.
Yeah.
when we go to those advisory
yeah. I would,
meetings.
I would say definitely, what we're looking for is, well, what we even talked about was possibly if they had some, faculty or staff that could offer like some workshops or even maybe teach some adjunct classes, but also the possibility of maybe offering, and I don't know all the logistics of this, but offering some, more above an associate level New Mexico State courses on campus or here. Maybe we could work up a part, and that's a discussion we'll have to have with the dean, but so that, that some of those students might be able to get not just 2 years, but maybe they get a 3rd year here before they had to go to, say, Las Cruces or someplace. So, and I think that, in my mind, that's kind of what, you remember that letter that Senator Munoz sent, a year and a half ago, have you had talks about partners? I think that's part of what that letter was looking for. Are you building those partnerships with other universities? Doesn't necessarily mean you have to go under a 4-year, but developing those pathways for students so it's like a seamless transition to go on to New Mexico State for an ag degree or Eastern for something else.
Yeah, cause I think you, you're going in the right direction, but, there's people here that don't think that way.
Well, when they see we are going the right direction and making ground headways, then they'll come on board.
I hope so.
But, tomorrow, I forget his title, but he's the deputy dean, the College of Agriculture, Jay Lillywhite, will be here also.
Okay.
It'd be great if you could meet him and, at least make his acquaintance.
Is that could I go to that meeting or
I would say so.
I don't see why not.
what
Yeah.
time is it?
7 in the morning at La Cita.
Breakfast at the Cedars.
Okay. I'm
Yeah,
like
I would,
Mr. Sandoval, I don't want a 7 o'clock meeting.
That's what threw me out, was saying 7 o'clock, I didn't awake at
but
that time.
I think that's a good idea, Tom.
No, I
That'd be
think-
a good way to get
Absolutely.
Dr. Moss introduced to not over him, but a lot of our local community folks
Yeah.
that sits on that.
What probably the overall goal that I would want to pass on to them is, I just like them to be open to talking about what we could do together.
There you go.
It may not be exactly what we have in mind or what, but if we could start those conversations and start with something
Mhm.
and then build, that's really all we look for, is just that openness to
I
explore some
think there's a
possibilities.
lot of possibilities of complementing each program
Yeah,
from each school, really.
yeah,
Yeah. To help this community, I think they need all that. And telling the truth, because, this community is prejudiced against people like I am.
Margaret, can you put
I'll give you a call 5 o'clock in the morning.
I'll probably be awake, but I might not be here.
I'll talk to Leonard after a while, let him know. that
Let me
you'll be
know
there,
for sure
okay?
if it's okay, cause I wouldn't wanna show up unless they were all right with it, but.
You just blame it on me. I don't.
Or blame it on him since he's leaving in a couple months.
Yeah, it's his fault. Hey,
No, I think he'd be,
I think
I think he'd be glad to hear that, really.
Yeah.
I'll plan to be in there.
all right.
I'll give him a call.
Give me a call so I can be there.
5 o'clock.
I guess. I'll get up, but I'll give you my phone number.
Any other comments? If not, I'll entertain a motion to go into executive session.
Make a motion to go into executive session.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Primrose,
Yes.
Ms. Stevenson,
Yes.
Mr. Sipwell,
Yes.
Mr. Sandoval,
Yes.
Mr. Fox,
Yes.
Good go? Good go? All right, we'll entertain a motion to reconvene from executive session.
I so move.
Second.
Motion and a second, roll call please.
Ms. Stevenson,
Yes.
Mr. Sidwell,
Yes.
Mr. Sandoval,
Yes.
Mr. Box.
Yes.
And Mr. Primrose,
Yes.
and motion carried.
Right, we do not have any correspondence. Important dates, May 3rd is Cinco de Mayo from 11 to 5. May 9th is the graduation. We also have on May 9th, the graduation's at 6, but we have a rehearsal at 10. And May 14th and 15th, LFC is going to be here. Memorial Day is the 26th. And then the 27th, it will be our next meeting.
And Cinco de Mayo will be over in the, like the Wind Center and parking lot. There'll be different music acts there, and I can't remember everything that was involved in that. And then May 10th, don't forget, is our nursing penny, if you all are able to come to that.
Who's gonna run the Cinco de Mayo this year?
Huh?
Who's gonna run the Cinco de Mayo?
So we're going to be a part of it, but I think it's kind of maybe the historical museum is running it, or I think a lot of the credit goes to Jonathan Burrito on the council. He's the one that's really pushed to help get that going. So
I'm sorry to say, but he is.
As far as the LFC being here and so forth, is there any interaction and so forth that the board ought to consider doing, and when would that be? And so
I'm gonna reach out to the lady, their setup person, this afternoon or tomorrow, just to see if there is that opportunity. I know, their meetings, there's not during those meetings because they have an agenda and they pretty well just follow that. And it might have something to do with, like I said, higher ed, or there may not be anything on higher ed in that agenda. They typically take breaks, 10 or 15 minutes, where they'll interact with people that have come up. I mean, anybody can set in on the meetings. It's public meetings. But in the evenings, I've seen them. Sometimes they might do a tour of, like, say, our Wind Center or the Ag Center site. But I don't know if they have it set yet what they're going to do. But there's not like any kind of set thing where, you would have to interact with them. I know at least the City or Princess Theater Board talked about trying to get Representative Chatfield, Senator Woods, Senator Campos to go view the Princess Theater to try to get, interest or support for further work on that. I don't know that they'll be able to do that. I've also seen, typically if let's say the meeting's at a college, I've seen the president kind of give them a welcome, but that's about the only interaction. But I'll try to get more details, and they should get the agenda out at least, I would think, sometime next week. So any information I get, I'll pass on to you guys.
okay.
In the past, we got together and maybe tried to, if they didn't have something already where we could meet them
Yeah.
on a dinner,
Yeah.
and be able to talk to them at that particular time, but I don't know.
Or sponsor a break or something or
Yeah.
another.
And that's something we talked about, like in my meeting today with like Connie Loveland and the new chamber director, whatever her name is, and Mr. Morano. be opportunities for that, and I'm gonna try to find that out and see if there's anything we can do.
Have they fixed that hole in the roof in the Princess Theater?
I don't think so. So actually, I hadn't been to several meetings for a while, but I think where they're at on the Princess Theater is determining the structural integrity of the building. Because if it's not something they can work with, then there's no point in putting money into the building itself. And I don't know if that would affect what the work they're gonna try to do on the facade, the front. And that was one of the questions I asked is there what are you gonna do if it's not structurally sound and there's not a plan for that? So their next step, I think, is getting like an engineer or consultant to see if it's structurally. I know Ron was there, that's why I'm looking at him.
Yeah, he don't say nothing.
So that's kind of where they're at. And they have funding to do some of that work, but they can't access it until the city catches up on their audits. And right now, they don't have the 23 or 24 done, I think. I'm not sure, but they're behind
We're
on it.
ahead.
Yeah, that's what they told me when I talked to her, that they were behind on stuff that they had to work on first before they could do anything.
And that's affecting a lot of other grants. That, that they can't apply for. Well, we know, we've been there the last 2 or 3 years. We're just getting to the point now where we can access some of those funds.
Like I said, I try to help them, but they don't want to help. I don't know, there's a big hole in the roof,
It's in bad shape, yeah.
pretty bad shape. A lot of the stuff that they used to have hanging, I guess it kind of fell and twisted. It was a mess.
Yeah, I think what they wanna see is, are the bones in good enough shape that some of that could be fixed? Or is it just a
Joke.
tear down?
There you go.
The EPCOG meeting, how did that go?
Good, I tuned in virtually, I forgot to mention that. That was my first meeting, so I wasn't sure what I was supposed to do, but I guess I was supposed to vote when they took votes and stuff. They talked about some grants they're working on that we're a part of. I know they have they're working with a grant writer for, I think it's mental health, like in the area schools. Also tied it into CNA, what we want to do with the high schools. And I help the grant writer make connection to some of our area schools that they were having trouble get a hold of, like Mosquero, Des Moines, and some of those. But it went fine. I'm going to try to go in person the next time, but it was, I think we're definitely going to see benefits by being a part of that. So.
That's good.
Yeah. ACT, I want, the training and all. I got an email from this Jose Liba that's gonna be doing our program for the 31st. And, he sent a survey to everybody. Did y'all get that email?
Mhm.
It's, okay, it's also
Well,
on that.
We got it from,
And here's a copy.
I don't remember.
If you look on the,
actually, it's on the
Share drive.
drive.
you should get an email. If you didn't get an email, I'll forward it again. But there's a link to a Survey Monkey that they want you to fill out this information online. If you don't,
You can do it
you can do it online.
Cause I was trying to fill this one on there and I couldn't,
that link, it will take it and then
Okay.
it is submitted all. And I'll forward that again to everybody.
okay.
But, so you can either do it electronically or you can do it on this page. He wants everybody to take that survey so that he can look and try to figure out what topics he wants to bring to the retreat, for the retreat. So please fill that out and get it to Margaret if you, we're hoping to get it done by May the 2nd, so he has time to get all of this information together, and he'll know exactly what we want him to discuss. And on the 31st, we'll probably start at 9, and he says if we have like a working lunch, maybe have sandwiches or something during the working lunch, we should be finished by 2, no later than 3 on the 31st.
What I can do with it.
Let me,
I don't have that on there yet. So we're starting at what time?
9 o'clock on the 31st.
It's a Saturday.
It's a Saturday,
May?
May 31st. And then if you'll fill out that survey by the 2nd, then we can get that, get that information to him, so he'll know what we'd like for him to talk about.
Okay.
Jimmy.
Okay, 9 o'clock.
That didn't. But I've talked to the guy, and he's a really nice guy. Seems to be, and he's from the Southwest, so he's familiar with this area. And we'll get that done, and we just have to pay for his expense. And the legislature this year actually passed legislation that's asking for trustees to have some training required.
I guess it'll be kind of like the training that the public schools have to do. I think they have so many points or so many hours that they're required to do.
They have to do. I'm sure it's similar.
My hope is that kind of like what you all are doing through ACCT will be like eligible for that training, so that because I can't envision HED coming up with its own. They might 8 hours of training every year, but I don't know.
I know with the public schools, I think they had regular regional type things that they were required to attend.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was going, I think it was every 4 months, 3 times a year, 4 times a year that we traveled. Till the board got rid of me, and they said, so we're gonna have to put on this, they're not gonna like mine. And I get to do this.
Okay, I just sent that link to everybody. Hopefully you'll get the email. You can, like I said, you can do it online, or you can fill out that page and get it to him, and then so the 27th we'll have a board meeting, and then the 31st will come out smarter than we are now.
I hope so.
That'll be an achievement. Where is this gonna take place?
here, I hope. They could be right here in this room, right? And then, maybe we don't have a Subway anymore. Sandwiches or something for the, and then we'll just work through the lunch and be done by 2. That's all I have on that, unless there's questions. Now I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So many.
Okay,
Second?
second.
Motion and second, roll call please.
Mr. Sidwell,
Yes.
Mr. Sandoval,
Yes.
Mr. Box,
Yes.
Mr. Primrose,
Yes,
and Ms. Stevenson.
get it? All right,
That's
good.
This,
That's.
this is one thing we should have done years ago.